Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. In June 2025, 7 of the busiest ports on the planet suddenly canceled US-bound shipments. Not from storms or cyber threats, but from tariffs wielded as economic weapons. And it's not just electronics feeling the heat. These tariffs are hammering the flow of car parts, driving up prices and threatening your next repair or project. We'll show how these ports have become ground zero in a trade showdown, revealing the growing cracks in a once reliable system. Let's get into it and see how deep this goes. Number 7. Port Newark, Elizabeth, New Jersey. Coastal Crossroads under pressure. Port Newark, Elizabeth is the lifeline for the Northeast and Midwest auto corridors. While it usually hums along under the radar, it's now feeling the heat as West Coast congestion forces freight eastward. Asia East Coast container volumes have dropped nearly 18%, while blank sailings, when ships skip scheduled ports, are causing chaos at the docks. For automotive plants that count on these routes for everything from dash modules to drivetrain parts, even minor schedule slips can trigger massive delays. Local distribution centers are adjusting inventories to weather the storm, but holdups in EV electronics and drivetrain imports are causing fulfillment headaches. Newark's story is a reminder that even quiet ports can get loud when global logistics are out of sync. But Newark's troubles aren't the only sign of global strain. Let's take a look at how Yantian Port is testing the system's limits. Number 6. Yantian Port, Shenzhen, the bottleneck giant. Let's shift our gaze overseas to Yantian Port in Shenzhen, China. This single port funnels more than a quarter of all US-bound exports, including a hefty chunk of auto parts and accessories. After a brief tariff truce, container bookings shot up a jaw-dropping 277%. While that surge might sound promising, it's actually clogging up the lanes and creating a port-level traffic jam. Long-term contracts are hogging the available space, leaving spot shippers, like many aftermarket parts makers, scrambling for room. Meanwhile, US ports aren't exactly rolling out the red carpet to receive the flood of goods. The result? Both ends of the Pacific are locked in congestion, with auto part manufacturers feeling the pinch. Even though supply might rebound in July, the schedule remains as murky as a foggy racetrack. With that global bottleneck in mind, let's steer back to the US and see how the Port of Savannah is juggling this surge. Number 5. Port of Savannah, the East Coast's rising star, with growing pains. Savannah has been clawing its way up the ranks, overtaking even New York and New Jersey's port traffic in 2024. It's become a hub for auto components, engine modules, and aftermarket kits. However, the West Coast's blank sailings triggered a tidal wave of Asia-bound cargo, with blank sailings in this corridor jumping over 20%. Freight costs fell, making Savannah a more appealing port of entry, but that's only shifted the burden inland. Rail yard backups and a shortage of chassis for container movement have become daily headaches. Plants in Georgia and Alabama that rely on these links are now staring down production slowdowns and vanishing inventories. Savannah may be a rising star, but its infrastructure hasn't yet caught up to the surge, leaving dealerships and repair shops high and dry. Before we push ahead, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Your support helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Alright, let's keep rolling and see how Seattle and Tacoma are faring in this global shipping crisis. Number 4. Seattle and Tacoma, Northwest Seaport Alliance. Northern grit under siege. Up in the Pacific Northwest, the combined might of Seattle and Tacoma, the Northwest Seaport Alliance, usually handles everything from industrial machinery to automotive components. But after a frantic rush to beat the tariffs in March, volumes took a nosedive. In the following months, cargo flows fell 40%, truck trips dropped 26%, and rail loads slid 35% compared to last year. Blank sailings spiked by 33%, turning once bustling docks into ghost towns. For auto plants and repair shops that rely on these Pacific pipelines, like those sourcing raw engine block cores, the fallout has been brutal. Parts deliveries are slower, air freight costs are climbing, and project timelines are stretching further. Local truckers, who are the backbone of this critical link, are warning that 2025's projections are already in jeopardy. Seattle and Tacoma's numbers are a stark indicator of how deeply trade policies can cut into North America's automotive arteries. Next stop, let's see how Oakland is holding up under the weight of these global tremors. Number 3. Port of Oakland, the Bay's endurance test. The Port of Oakland ranks in the nation's top 10 for container volume and emerged as a critical Bay Area gateway, especially when COVID-era disruptions rerouted flows. It's a conduit for gearboxes, sensors, and engine kits that power the western states. Despite the general slowdown plaguing the West Coast, Oakland managed a slight bump in inbound containers, but 39 blank sailings from April to June underscored the fragility. May alone saw vessel lifts and truck trips dip 11 to 15%, constraining inland routes. Many OEMs pivoted to Canadian or Mexican routes, but longer transit times and inland congestion created fresh headaches. Auto part suppliers using Oakland might be relieved by the uptick in volume, yet inland logistics are still a bottleneck. Dealerships reliant on aftermarket parts report delivery delays stretching from days to weeks, underscoring that even a robust secondary port can't fully shield the region from global supply chain whiplash. Let's keep this momentum going. Our next chapter takes us south to Long Beach, where the stakes are even higher. Number 2. Port of Long Beach, twin engine in turmoil. The Port of Long Beach, a vital partner with LA, moved 9.6 million TEUs in 2024, much of it automotive fixtures like transmissions and steel assemblies. But after tariffs ramped up, blank sailings surged from 4 to 14 in May, cutting out 152,400 TEUs and leaving Long Beach grappling with a supply vacuum. Local truckers report 60% fewer runs, and warehouse operators sit idle as manufacturers pivot to costlier alternatives or local stockpiles. For the auto industry, Long Beach is a workhorse supplying braking systems, fuel modules, and steel chassis components. With these disruptions, repair shops and regional mechanics face parts delays and soaring fees. The pressure to balance cost, timing, and trade turbulence is reshaping America's automotive supply chains. Long Beach's struggles underscore the urgent need for new strategies in the ever-changing world of global trade. And finally, we arrive at the beating heart of America's automotive lifeline, Los Angeles. Number 1. Port of Los Angeles, the beating heart of U.S. auto imports. The Port of Los Angeles handles over 1/3 of U.S. container traffic and nearly $500 billion in economic activity, serving as the country's main automotive import hub. With 25 terminals, 82 cranes, and an extensive rail network, it's key for shipments of chassis frames, ECUs, airbags, and aftermarket parts. But in May, tariffs spiked to 145% on goods from China, leading vessel arrivals to plunge from 12 to 5 daily. Blank sailings surged from 6 to 17, cutting 224,000 TEUs. Dock worker hours halved, and parts shortages for sensors and braking systems hit hard. While a 90-day truce lowered tariffs to 30%, Gene Soroka warns recovery will be slow. With container rates climbing and some automakers forced to air freight costly parts, this crisis underscores just how quickly trade policy can throttle America's auto supply arteries. Verdict: a crossroads for the automotive world. This 7-port saga reveals how a tariff-fueled storm, not a pandemic or natural disaster, has put the brakes on automotive supply chains. From Los Angeles to Newark, blank sailings have stalled critical parts, forcing automakers to rethink sourcing strategies and buffer stocks. So, we at Piston Pundit want to know, how have these port disruptions impacted your automotive projects or repairs? Are you seeing longer wait times for parts or service at your local shop? What's your biggest concern about the future of automotive supply chains? Drop your answers in the comments below. Your insights and experiences shape the direction of our future videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for updates on this unfolding trade saga and more. Thanks for joining Piston Pundit, your ultimate pit stop for all things automotive. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.